Hey, y'all, let me get your attention. I'm Chaplain Mark Worrell. I get to serve as a couple different titles here. Garrison Chaplain is probably the easiest way, but the way I like to describe myself is the mayor's pastor. My garrison commander, Colonel Laura Hutchinson, is not able to be here today. She's on leave and getting some much needed time away. But I think there's a couple things here that I'll address the elephant in the room first, and then I'll introduce our speaker for a welcoming comment. So many of you are aware we're in the middle of a government shutdown. This event today is funded by our chapel tithes and offerings, which we'll talk a little bit more going forward. But I say this is provided by our chapel tithes and offerings because this money is not appropriated by the federal government to do this event. But I think the most important thing to say today is the reason we're able to do what we do here as a local religious body, as a religious support office is what we call ourselves, is because of the churches here. The ministries represented here, the ministers represented here, and so I wanted to take a few minutes and say thank you. And really that's one of our biggest goals today is to say thank you for your ministry to our soldiers and their families and our airmen, because we have our Air Force counterparts here. So with that, I'm going to introduce Colonel Andy Carpenter. I've gotten to serve with him twice now. Been a blessing both times, at least for the most part. He was my deputy commanding officer at Fort Hood in my last brigade. He tried to corral me as a brigade chaplain there. When I heard he came here, I'm like, oh boy, he's keeping an eye on me again. But Colonel Andy Carpenter is a blessing to serve with, and he's going to express welcome remarks from both General Francis and Colonel Hutchinson, our two commanders here.
All right, first of all, I try and tie myself to good people, like we all do. You find those diamonds in the roughs and you just attach to them, and Mark is one of those people. If you know Mark, you know how good he is at what he does and how much he cares about soldiers, airmen, and their families, right? So on behalf of General Francis, let me get this title right. So General Francis was the deputy commander for TRADOC. Now we are transforming. So now he is sort of the senior Army element commander for Fort Eustis.
Hold on, sir.
That I do know. Okay. First, I want to start by saying how grateful I am to be here today. Okay, we're honored to have numerous ministry leaders from across Hampton Roads. And we also have chaplains, religious affairs specialists, distinctive religious group leaders, directors of religious education in Fort Eustis gathered in one place. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'll tell you is that is one powerful team, right? All with the same mission: to care for our airmen, soldiers, and families. This event is the first of biannual religious support symposiums that will host for 3 reasons. Right? We want to thank the ministry, their support to soldiers and families. We want to connect. Right? What I would tell you is this generation is really good at this. They can tell you whatever emojis mean what. But this, not very good at. Not very good at. Right? We have to train people how to talk and how to communicate. Right? So we understand at the basic training level that the recruits that we have coming in are not very good at talking. So what do? We make them talk. Right? We teach them how to talk. We teach them how to active listen. Okay? And 3, this will help our local ministries to understand the religious support provided by Chapel World, all of the great chaplains here, and their assistants. Let's not forget about the assistants. The symposiums gives us a chance to step back, connect, and learn from one another. Our religious support office calculates that at least 80% of the soldiers and airmen and families from Fort Eustis attend religious services within the community. 80%. That's a lot. Right? So it's up to us to instill in our soldiers, right, the need for this community. okay? They attend your churches, wards, synagogues, community centers, and more. Our goal here is simple, to strengthen the support network in our community. Now, as I was telling my wife I have to give this introduction welcome speech, she said to me, you got to put something personal in there, right? So I'm going to get personal for a second. I was the son of a single father raised in central Pennsylvania. He worked nights. So what does that leave? That leaves days. So where did I go during the day after school? I went to church. I was raised partly by my priests and by my nuns. And I remember as a child, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, sitting down with Father Graney, God rest his soul, and him telling me things, life lessons, man. Things that carried me to the position I am in right now. Hard work, effort, don't quit. From central Pennsylvania, right around Philadelphia, so Rocky was a big thing back in the 80s, right? So when you get punched in the face, what do? You keep moving forward. It's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how, and he was a boxer too, his nose was a little, not quite straight, right? So that's what I grew up with, right? And this is what I would offer you. Every interaction that you have, think about it in those terms. The influence that you're going to have on those children that could one day grow up to be whatever they want to be. Okay? Hopefully politicians. I'll stop there. All right? Today we'll provide you with perspective on how the military community provides religious support, both on U.S. soil and while deployed overseas, and we still have people deployed overseas. I hope today is a time of encouragement, collaboration, and fresh ideas. My request is that we keep the focus on relationships. Keep the focus on relationships. Talk with everybody. If you're an introvert, which I doubt there's many introverts here, just saying, you got to know your audience, right? Get around. That gets the two in the back. Okay. Force you guys to go out and talk to everybody. Shake a hand, right? At least listen to people, right? Because relationships are what make the difference between someone struggling and for someone seeking direction. Thank you again, Mark, and thank you for the ministry team here at Fort Eustis, for the service you provide, for the compassion you show, and the faith you live out. I look forward to conversations ahead. I'm sorry that I will not be able to stay. I have transformation meetings. Yay. But I really appreciate it, and what you do matters. Sometimes you don't see it. But I would tell you that at every level, from basic training all the way up through the strategic Pentagon, people need counsel. We all need help. As I used to tell everybody, we're all broken toys. We all live on Misfit Island. It's okay. Just understand it, know it, and be better. Right? And you guys will provide that guidance and direction, compassion. And I thank you on behalf of Lieutenant General Francis and Sergeant Major McMurdy. Hope you have a good day. And thank you.
Thank you.
Funny.
I just said have fun in your meetings. You know, those are always a blast. I just want to say a quick thank you and introduce the religious leaders from the community that are here today. As Colonel Carpenter mentioned, we have about 80% of the people that are religious from Fort Eustis attend off base, and I think that's true of Langley as well. And so we have a number of religious services going well here, and I'm excited to see what's going on here in the religious community. But I have to say a very concerted thank you to the community leaders that are here today. And so I want to take a couple minutes and introduce individuals that are here from the community, and then our brigade chaplains, our unit chaplains will introduce their teams to you as we go forward. So Evan Criddle, stake president from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and two of our, we call them distinctive religious group leaders, and know that is not easy to say no matter how much I try. Elder and Mrs. Itso here that help with our AIT, so you'll hear a number of acronyms, we'll try to explain them. Advanced Individual Training is what that acronym means in the Army, and I kind of jokingly say they're an incarcerated population. They attend basic training, and that's one of the commanders laughing. They attend basic training and then they come to Fort Eustis to learn how to work on aircrafts. And so they're here for 3 to 6 months typically and learn to work on the aircraft, but they're on a graded plan as to when they're allowed to go off base. And so we have a number of services developed specifically for those people to be able to attend religious services on Fort Eustis before they're allowed to go off base if they want to, okay? So that's something, a dynamic of Fort Eustis, and you'll hear a little bit of that introduced here in a few minutes. Did I say this right? Shelby, right? From the Peninsula Islamic Community Center, and then Imam as well. Thank you for joining us today. The Newport News Police Department chaplaincy rolled deep, so I will introduce them. I'm actually going to have you, if you don't mind, introduce all of you. If I can put you on the spot, one of those. Because I'm going to catch the names and off and on be able to address them. But
Good morning. I'm Chaplain Sandra Cherry from the Newport News Police Department. We have with us Chaplain Phil Jackson. She's also a military chaplain. We have with us Sherelle James, and we have with us Chaplain Maria Saunders, and we have our liaison, Monica White, with us from the police department.
good deal. Thank you very much. I didn't get to meet him yet, but Rob Whitehead, sir, from New Zion Baptist Ministry, thanks for joining us today. Got her already. Sorry, just going through the list here. Matthew Ferguson from Denby Christian Church, thanks for joining us. Otis West from Calvary Chapel, Newport News. Tim Allen, and I know he's one of our civilians as well, but here representing the church. Remind me what church you're from again.
So absolutely. So I'm representing People Life Christian Church. I'm one of the assistant pastors, but my pastor's present with me. I have my pastor also present.
Good deal. Y'all can't do acronyms like we can. I just see KLCC and I'm like, what's that stand for? Then we have Riley and Andy from Manna. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. And then I have the two Tims from Coastal Church, Tim Marshall and Tim Martin. And I think that is, I'm going to introduce two more people. So Aaron Titko is from Crew Military. If you're not familiar with that organization, they're an organization that cares for chaplains on Fort Eustis as well as connects with local churches. So it's been fun to connect with Aaron and his family here locally as well. And then, sir, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
Russell Dickinson from World Outreach Worship Center.
Oh, good deal. Thanks for joining us. Anybody else that I missed? All right. So with that, I'm going to turn over to the guy who made this event happen, Chaplain Anthony Kime. I appreciate your help in this. He's our family life chaplain here at Fort Eustis. And just so you know, you'll see my name on 2 slides. You'll see Sergeant Evans' name on 2 slides. I'll explain that now first before I introduce him. Sorry, the awkward. So I get to serve as garrison chaplain here. I have about 15 people that work with us. Due to the government shutdown right now, I have 3 civilians that are not here because they're furloughed according to the military, so they're not able to enter in the building. Kind of a weird dynamic, right? So they're not paid at this point, or at work, and not paid also. But my NCOIC, so my non-commissioned officer in charge that keeps me in check, or tries to, Staff Sergeant Ariel Evans at the back. Chaplain Del Curtis is standing up with his arms Deputy Garrison Chaplain or Plans and Ops Chaplain, depending on what day it is. Chaplain Stuart Williams, I will explain his job in just a second. He serves as what we call the Chaplaincy Resource Manager here at Fort Eustis. And because we're a joint base, and that's why you'll see my name and Sergeant Evans' name on 2 slides, he serves in the most critical role we can have him. He serves as the best translator between how Air Force doctrine affects an Army base. Okay? You think that talking across the street is hard? The dynamic of working to translate what Army ministry does into Air Force language, and it's just a different tradition, is a challenge for us. I just realized I missed somebody that I want to introduce. Tech Sergeant Tortolette, can you stand? Or sorry, McPherson, can you stand up? So she serves as our Pagan Distinctive Religious Group leader, or our Earth-Based Religions DRGL. I mentioned the ITSOs as well. So she facilitates those services for this community, and I appreciate you. Sorry I missed you. Then let's see. Anthony Kime, I introduced him already. Shane Smith, if you would stand up or wave your hand. He is he's on loan to us from one of the brigades in the middle of an Army move. So we got to use him for about 90 days, got to work with him, I think is a better way to say that. For about 90 days in his transition between serving as the brigade chaplain for a unit here that you'll hear about in a few minutes, and going to the Family Life Training School to become a Family Life chaplain. And then Sergeant Harris was she's the NCO behind this event, making it happen, so I appreciate you. A couple other in my team, and I'm trying to find you. Specialist Mac in the back corner. Specialist Henry. And I'm sure I'm missing, there we go, Sergeant Kinley walking in, making sure we're all behaving. So that is my team. Sergeant Evans and I have the dual-hatted role of serving both at Langley and at Fort Eustis. The rest of my team gets to run operations here at Fort Eustis. So you're going to hear from the rest of the team here. Anthony, if you'd introduce our different leaders. Yeah. Maybe not. User error.
Okay, so I'm not the most technical kind of guy. Right now, we're gonna talk about the organization as a whole, both on the Air Force side and the Army side. So to begin with, now. Okay. So before we go on with this, I'm gonna turn this over to Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Street to talk about the Air Force side of things. We unfortunately, sir, the slide's not there. But,
They have a slide in their folders.
I can riff.
If you can riff a little bit. Okay.
You guys look in your folders, everybody should have the PowerPoint, you can't see the screen.
So the gist is, I'll be Air Force Army neutral. I'll use the sci-fi analogy. So right now you're sitting in the religious mothership of Fort Eustis. So essentially it is sort of the central supporting organization that also supports a lot of the missions and the chaplains around those missions. So anytime those supported chaplains need, maybe they need money, maybe they need a facility, maybe they need delicious bagels, they know where to come. It is the organization that is sort of charged with supporting all of the various activities on this base. So essentially my shop on the Air Force side does exactly the same thing for Langley Air Force Base. So essentially you have a Fort Eustis mothership, you have a Langley mothership, and we are a joint base, so we cooperatively work together. Chaplain Foreman there is sort of the connective tissue that connects both teams together. So I, as the wing chaplain of Langley, and my team, we are responsible for providing money, for providing facilities to the organizations that are on Langley. So Langley Air Force, sometimes the Army and the Air Force units are built a little bit differently. We do have a number of other organizations on Langley that have their own wing chaplains. I did not list everybody on those slides because it gets a little complicated. For example, one of our intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance units, they have their own wing chaplain, but they literally have units across the globe. But again, so our role is to make sure everybody's supported, make sure everybody can do their mission. On the Langley side, our mission is primarily, it is F-22s, it is firecraft, and it is intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. So just, you look at me, I'm the Air Force version of Chaplain World. So we do exactly the same thing, and we have the same needs for your support, and we have the same joy in supporting you and leveraging you as ministry partners to be able to serve the religious needs of people on our installation. So, do we have any questions?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the Fort Eustis side of things that focuses mainly on the Army. If you can't read this is basically, we have the Fort Eustis Religious Support Office, kind of as the, I think as Chaplain Street said, it's sort of the glue that holds all of the chaplains together. We kind of, Chaplain Worrell serves as sort of the central component here. And then there's a lot of different directorates. There's a chaplain directorate here. The big building you see, probably the biggest building on Fort Eustis, which used to be called TRADOC, Training and Doctrine Command. I think it's now Transformation and Training Command, or is it something like that? T2Com. We're still learning.
Probably belong to the Future Concepts Command, because that's the CG will reside in that.
Okay, and Chaplain Worthy here is going to expound on that a little bit more. This is a little new to even us in the Army, because they're revamping several of the big directorates in the Army. It's a lot of reorganization happening. We're learning as we go. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to introduce a few of the chaplain leaders here from the different brigades and the different commands. So first, if I can ask Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Shea Worthy to come up, and he's going to talk a little bit about what he does and his section. Thank you, sir.
Hey, good morning. I'm Shay, so welcome. I want to just reiterate how appreciative we are of what you do for our families in the community and being here today as I came to my position from Korea. In Korea, they say kapshi kapshida. We go together. And so, we see that here too. We go together. And so in ministry as well as military, it's kind of like, so what? Or bottom line up front. How is what's going on affecting you? There's going to be some reduction in size, and that will affect families and community. Bottom line up front, so what? How does it affect all of us? For example, there used to be the U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command. There used to be the Army Futures Center. It was not even command. No, it wasn't command. I'm thinking FCC. The Army Futures Command. 2 4-star generals ran those 2 commands. Both of them are gone. 1 4-star general now runs T2Com, the U.S. Army Transformation and Training Command. From vision to victory, we say. However, General Hodney, who runs that command, has made it clear. This is not a merger of TRADOC and AFC. This is a whole new command. For example, I told you 2 4-star generals went away, 1 4-star general. The Army is now less 1 4-star general. We used to have 10 4-star generals in the U.S. Army. We now have 9. We will be less a lot of other positions as well. I currently do not have a job. I have so much work to do. So much work to do. I have to leave like Colonel Carpenter to go to a transition meeting. I have plenty of work to do. But I was the TRADOC Command Deputy Chaplain, or Deputy Command Chaplain. That job does not exist anymore. The way we talk about it in the Army is there's IOC, Initial Operation Capability. 1 October 2025, the U.S. Army Transformation and Training Command, T2COM, began initial operational capability. It will continue until 1 October 2026, when we will be full operational capability. So when I say I no longer have a job, the job I had doesn't exist anymore, I'm in, John, what do they call it? A holding UIC? Carrier. All right, UIC is Unit Identification Code. What do we do with Chaplain Worthy now that he really has no job? We put him in a carrier UIC. Think of it as a phantom organization. I'm out here. Next summer, I'll go to another job. Plenty of work to do in my current non-existent position. But that's where a lot of people in our community are. Someone asked me this morning, how's morale? I'm like, are we talking shutdown or are we talking transition? They're like, yes. I'm like, okay, shutdown, it's affecting people. You hear different things, like if they don't have it passed by this day, we won't get paid. That's going to affect people. I know we had at our last training, someone was briefing about food banks. People will probably look to us, to many of the civilian community partners, for help during this time when they're not getting paid. However, as I mentioned, there's no longer 2 4-star jobs. There's also no longer be other jobs that people here are doing. Or if those jobs exist, they may not exist here. Transformation and Training Command will be headquartered in Austin, Texas. Elements of it will be at Joint Base Langley, Eustis, specifically Fort Eustis. Elements will be at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Elements will be in the National Capital Region. Think Washington, D.C. But like the command chaplain, the TRADOC command chaplain, he is Chaplain Colonel Shmuel Felsenberg. I'm here on his behalf. He is on leave, enjoying time with his family in Colorado. You may know right now is the Jewish holy day of Sukkot. Protestants, we say the festival of booths or the festival of weeks. And so he is there celebrating that with his family right now. But he has been designated as the T2COM command chaplain. So he will move to that position. Best timeline now is spring. But so that family, that position will leave for this area, this community, and not be here anymore. That's going to happen to some positions, but some are just not going to exist anymore. And someone's asked me, well, will those people get other jobs? For green suiters in the Army, yes, I'm going to get another job this summer. At least I hope so. No, it looks really good. For civilians, it depends if there's a job for them to go to. And there's not always a job for them to go to. Initially, at the beginning of the year, the TRADOC, when we were TRADOC, we were told reduced by 8%. And so we offered people different ways of offboarding, but across the TRADOC enterprise, we had to lose 1,520 positions. About 900 we were able to do in a voluntary way, if you will. We had 600 still to go, and so we closed all of the Command and General Staff College satellite locations. Belvoir, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, Redstone Arsenal, Arkansas, and where was the third one? Fort Lee, I think. Anyway, all 3 of those are closed. So if you had a job at one of those 3 facilities, that job has gone away. Were you able to get another job? Not always, no. Because there is availability, because TRADOC was not the only one that was told to do that. To build upon that, we're not the only one that's part of the Army Transformation Initiative. There's another organization that has stood up called USARAM, United States Army America's Command, which is a new organization, and old organizations like FORCECOM, United States Army North and South, are closed. So I know that's like a lot. When Mark asked me, hey, tell him what's going on with T2COM, I'm like, yeah, I could talk structure and stuff like that, but really kind of, again, so what? Bottom line up front, it's having an effect and will, over the next year, IOC to FOC, have an effect on our community as jobs either go away to another location or go away entirely, and people in those positions are looking for other positions. Questions for me? I thank you, and in the words of Tiny Tim, God bless us all, everyone.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'm going to ask Chaplain Brian Pearson to come up and talk about the 128th Aviation Brigade, which is the AIT Brigade, the Advanced Individual Training Brigade.
First, I'd ask all the people from the 128th to stand up, all the unit ministry teams, and we've got a command team with us as well, so that's great. I will keep this pretty simple. The 128th Aviation Brigade, like our job is to train the future aviation maintainers for the Army, okay? So everybody who's going to learn how to work on an Army aviation aircraft, they come here and they learn their skills here. And we are a non-stop machine, as I'm sure you can attest to, sir, right? We're composed mainly of students, so you'll probably see them out and about throughout Newport News. They're always in pairs. So if you see young soldiers in a pair, that's probably ours, and they've earned some privileges. We're composed of cadres, so that's instructors and drill sergeants, who are there solely to pour into these young students and train them up. And then we have, sort of, the staff, right? Like my role and the other chaplains who are there to support the students and the cadre who are taking care of this super important mission, you know? And it's an interesting dynamic because we're getting young people who are still not quite soldiers yet, all right? That's something very important to know. They are not fully a soldier yet. They have not earned their wings. So they've come from basic training. They can be active duty, they can be National Guard, used to be reserve, but that has gone away recently. And they did the basic training piece, and now they're actually learning like their job, right? Their actual skill set they're going to do in the Army. So it's a really exciting brigade. It's a different mission than being out in the force because we're training, we're investing in the future of the Army. Yeah, it's a good time. So, if you have any questions, I'll be around and I'm happy to answer them after we get done talking, especially as it goes about religious support and stuff to the students and the drill sergeants and the instructors. Thank you for your time.
If I could ask Chaplain Scott Britton for 93rd Signal Brigade and talk about his position and what they do.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, yeah, my name's Scott Britton, and if you haven't noticed, I'm over here all the way to the left, and I don't have any cool blue boxes under my name. It's because, so I'm part of 93rd Strategic Signal Brigade. My NCOIC, Staff Sergeant Lamb, over there, we're rolling 2 deep for our unit ministry team. So basically what we do, what the 93rd Signal Brigade does, is we run all the communications east of the Mississippi. So all the network enterprise centers, if you're having trouble with your emails or your cell phones, please don't complain to me. Oh, you can complain to me, but it's not going to go anywhere, right? That's definitely going to be confidential. So we basically run all the communications for the Army east of the Mississippi, which is a lot of communications. The challenge for us, Staff Sergeant Lamb and I, is we have 54 soldiers in our footprint. That's it. So our brigade has 54 soldiers. Everybody else is DA civilians and contractors. So we have 1,500 civilians that we are charged for caring for their spiritual needs. And they're located anywhere from down at Fort Rucker, Fort Stewart, all the way up to West Point and Fort Drum. So it's interesting. for the unit ministry team to try to reach out to all those people. And so one of the things I was looking forward to today is partnering with you, the folks of this community, to partner with me to help take care of not only our soldiers, but the massive number of civilians that we're charged with overseeing. And so, so I'm really looking forward to like building those relationships with you. We are a little strange too, because we're kind of, yeah, I'm strange sometimes, but our situation is strange because we are kind of a standalone brigade. We technically belong to 7th Single Command up at Fort Meade. But what has been so great is coming in and having a garrison ministry team that latches onto us and says, hey, even though you don't really kind of live here, but you really don't live here, we're going to support you. We're also going to give you things to do, because as you may or may not know, chaplains in the Army, and I'm sure in the Air Force too, we have multiple different hats. We serve our units, but we also serve the people of the community where we are planted. And so, again, I'm really looking forward to developing relationships with each one of you. Hopefully, God willing, we can do that so that you can help me to better support the people of 93rd Civil Brigade. So, pending any questions, that's all I've got. Okay.
And I'm going to ask Chaplain Matt Reynolds for the, actually our only deploying unit on Fort Eustis.
Hey, good morning. Good morning and Merry Christmas to everybody. My name is Chaplain Matt Reynolds, and I'm the 7th Brigade Chaplain. We got Chaplain Verdon, Sergeant Williams, Specialist Vidal. We do have one more battalion chaplain, Chaplain Paul Jackman, and he's TDY right now. What makes us very unique is that we are part of FORSCOM. We deploy. We're actually unofficially the most deployed brigade in the entire Army. And what makes us even more unique to that, we are the only active duty Army unit that actually has boats and vessels. So we actually move equipment from the ocean to over the shore. And we go to different places like Antarctica in a couple of weeks, and then in a couple of months Morocco. So we actually touch all 5 different domains that the Army fights and trains in, as opposed to most units trains and prepares for just one major operation. We generally have 4 to 5. So we always have families deployed, and having community is just such a essential part. And I know a lot of our soldiers are heavily invested into some of your churches. So thank you for that. And if you have any questions, you're sitting over there. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as you looked at those 2 slides that you have in your folder, or one of them up on the screen, you notice that each one has a denomination in parentheses on those slides. From LDS to Catholic to Baptist to all the different dynamics. And one of the things we haven't said yet, if you don't know, each chaplain has what we call an endorser. I say that they protect me from the Army and the Army from me. I've never had the opportunity, the unfortunate circumstances of having a commander tell me I'm going to do something different than my denomination would allow me to do. But let's paint it a bad picture for a minute. Let's say that a commander told me they were Buddhist, and they told me, hey, I want you to start doing a Buddhist service every Friday. My response would be, hey, sir, I can't, but I can find you somebody who can, and we can get a distinctive religious group leader from the community, or we can find a service contractor if we need to, or whatever, to be able to provide that. If that if that commander kept that push going, my endorser carries the rank in that conversation of a 1-star general. And my endorser would call that commander or send a letter or show up in person and say, hey, let me help you understand. Okay? So they protect me from the Army or the Air Force, right, in this situation, to where a commander can't tell me to do something outside of my faith group. They also protect the Army from me. So let's say I began to change my doctrinal beliefs. I began to believe something different. I'm regular Baptist. Just means we drink prune juice. Okay, so there's some other theological stuff in that conversation, but I'm regular Baptist, and let's say they asked me to, or I started to change my beliefs on how I lived out my faith. Or I started doing things that are unethical. Within 48 hours is what they tell us, I would no longer be a chaplain if my endorser pulled my endorsement, and within 30 days I would be out of the Army. It is the quickest way to get out of the military in any way, shape, or form. Chaplains are not allowed to do that, okay? Please don't go doing that. But I have the privilege today, and the reason why I'm saying it specifically today, I would hope I would say it anyways, but I have the privilege today of having our, for clarity's sake, our denominational president, our fellowship calls it the national representative here joining us today. So I didn't say anything yet, but Claire Jewell, thank you for joining us today. He's from Oregon, got in late last night and was here this morning, so thank you for joining us. But as you interact with chaplains, know that each of us has that faith backing for us that guards us from doing things that we shouldn't do in the military and helps us represent our faith as one of many faith groups in the military service.
Langley?
That's where I
Is
Is there a Langley? Sorry. Okay. That was
Feel the love. Feel the love.
Sir,
Glad you think about it.
we really appreciate the Air Force folks, as you can tell. Langley, let's
Spared no expense.
Thanks for doing the work, sir. We appreciate it. Even though we didn't put it up there, we
Well, what
appreciate
we
the
did
thought.
is we wanted to dumb our slide down, make sure that the Army could understand it.
If you haven't guessed, there's a little bit of inter-service rivalry, you know? And the nice thing about what I love about Eustis and Eustis and Langley in this area is all of the different commands, except for Space Force, I think, we have right around here. You know, you go across the tunnel, you have all kinds of Navy folks, and there's Navy folks around here as well. So you get Coast Guard, you get a few Marines, they're all over the place, and then you get the Army, and of course, we sometimes remember the Air Force. Every once in a while. So, okay, so here's what we're going to be doing for the rest of this time. We're going to be talking, we're going to start talking about Title 10, which is what gives us chaplains the constitutional authority to do what we do. Sorry, I keep getting that. I got to stand a certain way for this camera to capture me, and I tend to not like to be in that camera. The unit ministry team mission, that's what we call a unit ministry team, is consisted of the chaplain and the religious affairs specialist. So we're going to talk about what that mission consists of, what the UMT composition, what is the UMT, what is the unit ministry team, who are they made up of, religious support specifically here on Fort Eustis, and then we're going to focus on the community partnerships. So to begin with that, we're going to start with Chaplain Williams, our finance guy.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Good to see everyone. I'm Chaplain Williams. I'm the Chaplain Resource Manager, Account Manager, GPC Card Holder Manager. So basically all things funds come through my office. So when the Religious Support Office spends money, I'll probably know about it, or it's not, it should be spent, just in case we're tracking. So I'm going to talk about a couple things. And it's a question-answer type deal, and I'm going to do the same thing Colonel Carpenter did. It's about a little personal input just to give some context to what's being said. Doesn't chaplains concept violate the separation of church and state? The answer is no. We have the First Amendment in the Constitution, which is freedom of religion. So one statement I believe we can all agree on, considering that we switched from the Department of Defense to the Department of War, is that we are not in a religious organization. That's very clear.
Yeah.
However, the individuals that serve in these capacities are religious. Therefore, it is our job to ensure that they have their First Amendment right, their freedom to religion. All religions that serve within our ranks. Each one of the branches may do religious support differently, but it's our responsibility to make sure they have their right and that opportunity, I call it time, space, and opportunity, mission dependent. Why would I say mission dependent? The next 3 points of why not just hire somebody to do it is going to be all bound into one. So, in the Army, wherever a soldier goes, there's probably a chaplain. If not where they are, they're either going to see a chaplain's going to stop by, or they're going to swing by a place where a chaplain is, depending on what their mission is. So, every person in a green suit receives training. If you are enlisted, you receive basic training, and then as Chaplain Pearson said, you go to your specialized school training, and that's for every job. So that also includes our 56 mics, our religious affairs specialists and NCOs. They're trained that when we go in particular environments or we're in a field environment, they know how to watch things to make sure everyone is safe. And when we go in more intense environments, they're trained to keep us safe. So everywhere you see a chaplain, you're more than likely going to see a mic, especially if you're in a different country or in a war zone. Chaplains go to school, and they're trained. We had what's called CHAPOLA, Chaplain Basic Officer Leadership Course. And we're trained on the Army's ways, and then every branch has their school, and they're trained on how to provide or perform ministry for the members that they provide or perform or are responsible for. Now back to the question, why can't we just hire somebody? I think Colonel Carpenter said it very clearly. Relationships. And you know very well in each capacity of each person in here, in order to be that beneficial or that present for someone in those particular times, relationships become very important. So we receive the training that we're able to be present in the places soldiers, airmen, sailors, and Marines serve, to build those relationships that when life happens, and life happens, they know who they can go to, one, in a search for what faith may be. One, I need help right now. I'm struggling in my faith. But also, just to be present with somebody, because we still have to complete the mission.
Just for anecdotal purposes, I'm old enough to know that in 1979, the federal government actually tried to test hiring civilians to be Army chaplains. Absolutely, fundamentally failed. And the reason for it comes down to the simple fact that we deploy and we go into harm's way. And the insurance liabilities, the cost factor to have a local church or denomination, even if it was a mainstream denomination, to be able to provide the funding and the insurance for the numbers of chaplains that would be required, not to include assistance, was absolutely financially impossible. I know that sounds very base, that it came down to a financial determination, but they just can't do it. The fact that this does not violate church and state is because your rights as an American citizen do not end at the borders of the United States. And when a soldier goes downrange, wherever that range is, a chaplain's going. And sometimes your life is on the line. And local denominations simply could not support that when it comes to death benefits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in '79 they tried it, it failed, and it did not pass the test. And there's been several constitutional attempts to argue for against the chaplaincy, and each time they failed, going as far back as 1863. So it consistently comes out that you have the right to have your faith represented if you are facing death. Period. That ends.
Sir, that is an excellent springboard into what I was going to say.
Just to prove a point, the Air Force is always in front. I'm just kidding. By the way, on the record, this man right here has the hardest job. You've already heard it said. I can say it from the Air Force side. Our language is incredibly difficult when it comes to money. And I want to thank you personally, Chaplain Williams, for keeping me out of an orange suit. Thank you.
Yes, sir. But the truth is, we go in harm's way. And I remember a conversation back to Colonel Carpenter I had with my mother before I deployed. So, may not mean much, but the first unit I deployed with, the first job I had as a chaplain, I was prior enlisted, field artillery, got my first chaplain assignment, And my first job down range, I was the task force lethal chaplain.
Yeah.
Literally my name, lethal chaplain. Because I was with lethal warriors, and my parents understood the job the people I deployed with had and what they did. And so I say that to say I had to have a conversation with my parents to say, in my faith, Mom, we know God is everywhere. We say it all the time, every Sunday. Well, this has provided me an opportunity to prove it. Not only to understand it, but also the people who I tell it to Sunday after Sunday as I pastor. And sure enough, in those times, I had a lot of conversations about faith as we faced a lot of challenges. But that goes into the relationships. Those relationships took time to build, and those relationships developed over time. And I'm still friends with some of those guys today. But that goes to speak about the relationship and what comes out of the training, what comes out of the job, and why chaplains are important, and why we also depend on our local community, because my pastor's here. So it's important. The partnership is very important. Now, we discussed how we were able to have these jobs. There are Title 10, there are two particular codes, codes 7217. That code says in every orders, you will provide religious services when you show up. Because we provide religious service for soldiers. Now here's where my job comes into play. 1789. 1789 is a particular code that allows the government to spend funds on chaplain-led programs. We're able to cover resiliency, we're able to cover religious things, we're able to cover holistic wellness, and we're able to cover suicide prevention. And that allows what we understand now is the government shutdown, right? So basically we're waiting for a budget. So basically we're waiting for a budget. And to kind of break down where this comes into play with 1789, which is the constitutional right, but also tied to the ability to spend funds on soldiers and families, is that the budget comes down, and then once Big Army gets the budget, each unit gets the budget. Once they get a budget, that chaplain has made a request for money to spend on the soldiers. That request of money that they spend from their commander's pocket or their particular account is allowed by 1789. So that is called appropriated funds. That is the left side of my brain. But considering that we are a religious organization and we provide worship services on Fort Eustis and other installations, giving is understood as a form of worship. So when we have services, we allow those who would like to give in that service. Those funds are on the right side of my brain. Those are non-appropriated funds are called CTOF funds, chapel, tithes, and offerings, which are monies that people give out of the love of their faith, their religion, and their God. So, government funds from the commander within the units that we are integrated in, money that we receive from giving of tithes and offering. Now, some of you may wonder, how could they pay for things if the government shut down? Well, that's because this is an outreach for religious and spiritual purposes to create a connection between our community and the chaplains on this installation so we can work together in a difficult time, as was said by Chaplain Worthy, to make sure people are taken care of. And because those funds were given and we have a different process than, well, the Army has a different process than the Air Force, and we fall under the Air Force, we're able to process funds to still provide religious support for our people. But I would like to ask you to keep in prayer those individuals that are Army installations, because their processing center is operated by government employees who are currently impacted by our state. So, there are different types of money, and I'm the resource manager, and I hope you understand the importance of chaplains as it relates to our ability to provide service and the importance of our partnership and working together going forward to take care of all those within our community. Any questions of me? Have a blessed day.
Okay, so at this time we're going to take a 20-minute break, There's still some refreshments across where you got your breakfast there.